Guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video is the next installment in our community replay series, and it sees my friend from APOC, StatikTheWarmonger, playing some domination here on the map Two Brothers in the German Tier 7 premium battleship, the Scharnhorst. He's divisioned up with our buddies, the Real Tugboat and Lightninger, playing in the Fiji, the Tier 7 British light cruiser, and the Shores, the Tier 7 Soviet light cruiser. If you'd like to send a replay into BIAworldofwarships, please send it into that@gmail.com. Please include the replay file, post-game screenshots, a brief description of the battle, and then, of course, if you'd like myself or Spider to do the commentary, you can request for that as well. I'd like to announce also that all of the replays from prior to 0.6.8 do not work, so those of you that have sent in replays before then, we are unable to use those, so please continue to send in replays. We love to feature your gameplay here on the channel, but again, all replays prior to 0.6.8 do not work. So, the Scharnhorst, what do you need to know about it in World of Warships? Well, you're going to see why this thing, when it's top tier, is still just as potent, at least in my opinion, as it was when this ship was first released. What you have is the classic German turtleback armor scheme, but you get some interesting quirks with this vessel, and we're going to compare it here real quickly to the Gneisenau, the Tier 7 Tech Tree German battleship. So the Gneisenau that we have in game, of course, the big difference is that it has a 3x2 arrangement of 15-inch guns. Those were, of course, planned upgrades in World War II that never were carried out. The Scharnhorst, however, retains the classic armament, which is a 3x3 arrangement of 11-inch guns. And while they don't have the raw alpha damage of like a 14 or 15-inch, you can see right there with one Citadel, he still manages to do over 8,000 points of damage. So a nice salvo right there, yes indeed. This ship comes with a decent AA suite, pretty good maneuverability, both in terms of its top speed, its rudder shift, what have you, and it also has okay concealment for a Tier 7 battleship as well. But the main kicker on this thing is, of course, its torpedo armament. You get 2 triple launchers, one on either side of the vessel, and what it allows you to do with this thing is get in close and absolutely annihilate whatever's in your path. And also, there was a recent secondary buff to German battleships, I believe starting at Tier 7 and going up. So this thing with a full secondary build can reach up to about 8 kilometers. And while that's not Bismarck, Tirpitz, Freddy, or of course Grosse Kurfürst levels of secondary range, 8 kilometers at Tier 7 is still top tier, and it's still pretty darn good. So there's nothing to be ashamed of with those secondaries. So this ship overall is just a Swiss Army knife, really. It's in real life, it was designated a battle cruiser by some sources, a battleship by others. It really does blend, or not blend, but it just kind of straddles the line between a cruiser and a battleship. It has a 20-second reload on the main guns as well. So again, when you're not doing as much alpha and you don't have the best penetration, you're certainly going to be able to rack up quite a bit of damage if you're able to stay alive. Now, unfortunately for his team, the Belfast does take some of those torpedoes from the Alba. You got to understand, starting with the Furataka, those Japanese cruisers have 10-kilometer torpedoes, and whenever they turn away, they're probably dropping them, and you can see that the Belfast was not paying attention to that at all. But you can also see, looking at the minimap, that there is a sizable portion of the enemy fleet doing the worst play in the game and making a middle rush at the beginning of the game on Two Brothers. Absolutely terrible play to make. It looks like there's 2 ships. There might be 3. At least looking at the minimap, it looks like there's a Belfast and one of the Algeries at least, maybe both of them. Not 100% sure, so he is certainly going to get back towards the base and deal with this potential threat. Again, don't rush the middle on Two Brothers, please. Please, please do not do it. It is a waste of time. It is okay in fast destroyers and cruisers at the end of the game when you're trying to get to a cap, to be honest, but other than that, you really just should not be doing it under most circumstances. It's just not worth it. The score is 417 to 441. Each side has lost a cruiser at this point with 1506 left in the game, and he's at 8,360 damage. So yeah, one last thing about the Scharnhorst. Ever since its release, you know, it has lost a little bit of its luster, especially in higher tier games where your 11-inch guns, at least against angled targets, just straight up are not good enough to be able to penetrate. And that's the real trade-off that you have. If you like the Gneisenau more, well, of course, it has those nice 15-inch guns, albeit pretty inaccurate, that you find on Tirpitz and Bismarck, and it allows you to get much better penetration on ships. But, of course, when ships are sailing broadside like so, you can still get Citadels. 11,000 damage there on the Algerie with 2 pens and 1 Citadel. Unfortunately, that shot bounced off the deck, but nonetheless, 2 pretty meaty salvos into the Alba and then the Algerie, respectively, so far to start the game. So you can see that when ships do give broadsides, especially cruisers, this is what these guns are for. And yeah, he's going to continue to make very good work of that as the replay continues. So at this point, both teams have lost now 2 cruisers. There's something about cruisers and dying early. I don't get it. I mean, they get more dangerous the longer that they're alive because they provide that DPM at the end of the game. But hey, you know what? There's really nothing else to say about it, to be honest. It's kind of funny when I see cruiser players just flying ahead, like the Alba at the beginning of the game. No offense, but I don't know. There's just something about them. It's like a disease. 13:41 left in the game. You can see that there was a pair of Algeries that moved in there quite some time ago. They have since moved back behind the outcropping over there, the ledge on that cliff. Good for them, of course, because they do not want to be sitting broadside to 9 of these guns. One other thing about the Scharnhorst that I just realized is that I don't think a lot of people realize it, but it actually has a better sigma than the majority of the battleships, at least on the German side, that you get in game. I'm pretty sure it's 1.9 or 2.0. I'm like 90% sure on that. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat if you do know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure the sigma on this thing is better. He does take his first little bit of damage there from the shores, and you can see his secondaries tried to snap some shots off there, and he was not able to do so. And he is burning, but of course he's going to let it burn because he only has 1 fire, and there's no reason for him to put it out. His torpedoes that are going downrange, hopefully they'll be able to reach the corner. Maybe those ships are trying to move through at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see if his torpedoes do land any hits. There is a shores, however, he appears 4.9 kilometers away. He swings the turrets into play, getting the shots out, and oh, there we go. 20k with a double citadel, and then his secondaries are able to snap it off, get a devastating strike and a close quarters expert. It's up to 41,000 points of damage after killing that tier 7 Soviet light cruiser, so a very nice snapshot right there. The turret traverse on this thing is pretty darn good. It is cruiser levels worth, so that Shores really made a bad play right there. And you can also see the majority of his hit points he will be able to get back as the fire does go out, so he will be using his damage control here shortly. You can see the Landers get some shots. The Nagato is also backing out in front of him as well. His secondaries are going to work at 6 kilometers. He did not send me what his captain's build is, but I presume that he does have the secondary range on this thing. Gets a full broadside out against the Nagato. He does not manage a citadel at 6.3 kilometers, but he still almost gets a 10k, so a very nice one right there. And then you can see his secondaries do manage to put that Nagato on fire, so he is going to get right back behind that island and try to GTFO. You can see that the Lander and the New York are taking some glancing shots at him. He's got his guns reloaded. The enemy Nagato does take care of his buddy Tugboat in his division, so unfortunately for him, he dies. And he only manages some more overpens against that Leander. This is something that, I'm not going to say it's a common trend with this ship because the penetration isn't the best, but sometimes these guns will troll you a little bit, at least in my experiences with it. But you can see the reload is very nice, and he does have Adrenaline Rush on this thing. That was a 19-second reload right there, and there we go. He gets the Citadel that he needs for 10,000 points of damage. He's up to 5 of those nice Citadels. And again, this is not a ship that's known for getting a copious amount unless you close the distance. And you can see that he's been able to punish quite a few ships thus far. He's now looking for a shot here against the enemy New York, but those that trio of cruisers are now pushed up to the very corner of, what is it, Objective Delta indeed, or no, excuse me, Objective Bravo. Lightninger does manage to kill the Algerie, one of them at least. I think there's like 3 of them on the enemy team, so I'm not sure exactly which one, but nonetheless, he's now swinging his turrets into play to deal with those ships that are sitting right at the mouth of the channel. Unfortunately, one of his turrets did get knocked out, so he's only going to be able to get 1 shell here, 1 salvo, I should say, from the rear turrets against the Lander. Will he be able to secure the kill? No, unfortunately, those shells do land short, so now he gets the front turret into play, and surely with this salvo, he'll be able to get the kill. No. 1 overpen for 760 damage. So now he has to continue to divert his attention to this guy. Gets the rear turret out once more. Will he finally be able to secure that kill on the enemy Leander? Yes, he does. He gets Citadel number 6. Picks up his 2nd kill of the game against that tier 6 British light cruiser. And he's up to 74,000 points of damage. So a very respectable game that is continuing to be ever the more questionable on how the outcome is going to be. This has been quite a back and forth affair. His team has, at this moment, 7 ships, while the enemy has 6. He's now looking for some shots here at the Algerie, who's 10 kilometers away. It does appear he is backing up, and he gets the full broadside out. And you can see that reload was at about 18 seconds now. Somebody hit him very hard. Unfortunately for him, it was not him. It appears that it was the Gneisenau, and right there, that was a quantifiable example of why those 15-inch guns are much better, at least on a per-gun basis, than the Scharnhorst. He was able to go right through the bow of that Algerie without too much trouble. You can see her getting some shots here at the enemy Belfast, and he did manage to get 1 pen for 1,200 damage, but the Gneisenau did manage to take care of that Tier 7 premium British light cruiser. And now with 5 seconds left on the reload, he is looking for the kill shot here on the Algerie, who is attempting to get the heck out of there. It appears he has his speed boost activated, but it does not matter. He is turning broadside. The shells are in on the way. And with 83 health left, he gets another Citadel, make that number 7 for the game. Picks up his 3rd kill of the game. He's up to about 78,000 points of damage. His team is winning 748 to 614 at the moment. However, the enemy Scharnhorst over there on 44,000 hit points is capturing Objective Alpha. So at this point, if they continue to let that happen, they will be down 3 caps to 1. So that's why he's making his turn over here to Delta. Unfortunately, the Algerie's torpedoes completely cut that Gneisenau off guard, who was going down the channel. They do have extremely good firing arcs for torpedo launchers on those French cruisers, so you have to be very careful when they do turn away from you, because they can get their torpedoes out, at least from the front, at very good angles. It appears that he did not pay attention to that. The score is 704 to 686. His shell's fallen on the New York. He manages to get 1 pen for 2,500 points of damage. The aim was a little bit off right there, but you have seen some salvos throughout the course of this game that have been just slightly off target. But nonetheless, with the great reload, you can afford to miss a few salvos and you're still going to be A-OK. This is not something like an Arizona with its, I think, 34-second reload, where if you miss a salvo, you're really going to be feeling it. Now you can see here this Nagato has continued to stay behind that island for some reason. However, of course, static is detected right here. He is well within range of the Nagato. Well, if he was running the equipment piece that increases your detection range, your assured detection range. But then again, I'm not sure if that ship gets it. I don't recall off the top of my head. Nonetheless, he's 1.3 kilometers away. Obviously, the Nagato is hard detecting him, but his guns are not trained. He did fire a salvo at the enemy New York, I believe, or the Texas. Yes, the Texas. He's now looking for the torpedoes here. He launches them. He's going to get 1 salvo out, and holy shit! Manages a quiet Citadel with 4 pens to just absolutely obliterate that Tier 7 Japanese battleship. And he's up to a very, very respectable 112,000 points of damage. The Nagato does not have the best armor layout, and if you do get that close, the Citadels are going to be ridiculous on the ship. So what a freaking deletion, a nice drive-by right there. And with 6:39 left in the game, his team is losing despite that kill. It's 720 to 750. His team has 4 ships. The enemy team has 3. He is capturing Objective Delta, which is very, very good. And he still has a very healthy amount of his hit points left over. But the same cannot be said for the Omaha, who does get killed by that enemy Scharnhorst. So now it's a 3 versus 3. And the enemy team is up to 801 points. So if that Graf Spee dies over there, they're going to be on the brink of defeat. However, it does appear that the enemy Atlanta will be getting taken care of here very shortly, so that will certainly swing the balance back towards his team's favor. He's only at 1,500 hit points as he manages to get the solo base cap, so a very nice job right there. You can see that the Atlanta is trying to turn away, and it appears the Graf Spee will be able to get the kill, and indeed he does, bringing the score back to about 40 points. The New York's salvo flies in and completely misses him, and then the New York makes, well... a mid-low tier play. He just decides to stop right in front of Static. I have no idea what he's doing. Unfortunately, the enemy Scharnhorst takes care of the Graf Spee, but he manages about 8k there on that salvo and picks up the Confederate, cracking 120,000 points of damage. A very nice salvo right there. But at this point, it is a 2 versus 2, so he has to kill this New York rather expeditiously here before that Scharnhorst makes his way over to Objective Bravo. Full broadside out. There we go. You see, not getting the Citadels here even at 8 kilometers, you're just really not going to do that against battleships unless you really dig into the waterline below the torpedo belt. But very solid damage nonetheless. Very, very consistent. Both of the last 2 salvos being about 8,000 points of damage. You can see his secondaries are going to work, and once again, as he picks up the high caliber 8,300 damage right there. So at this point, the New York is absolutely screwed. The hit point advantage that he did have is all for nothing, and he will be guaranteed to die right here. It just is a matter of Static's reload, which is still at about 18 seconds. He's now shooting at the bow because it hasn't taken too much damage, and a very nice display right there. He had 3 salvos right at the mid portion of the New York, and he decided to shoot at the bow to milk out the damage that had not been soaked in on that part, and he was rewarded for a very nice 12k salvo. His secondaries do manage to light a fire, and he shoots once again at the waterline, another 8,000 damaging salvo. So very nice back-to-back, I think, salvos there on that Tier 5 American battleship, and his secondaries will be finishing off the kill here as he picks up the Kraken and his second close quarters expert of the game. He's up to a very nice 162,000 points of damage, and with about 4 minutes left in the game, he's now getting ready to head back towards Objective Bravo. Now you can see here that he did want the friendly Fiji to make his way over to Charlie, but unfortunately, he's just not close enough. He's not going to be able to get over there in time to be able to secure the cap completely and then give the team the 3-to-1 advantage. And of course, the Scharnhorst is making a beeline for Objective Bravo, so it'd really be all for nothing at this point, to be honest with you, because the Scharnhorst would, of course, delay the capture, or at least would attempt... No, I'm sorry, I butchered that totally. He would get on Bravo and delay the point total increase for his team, so it would, again, be for nothing for the Fiji to get over there to Charlie. Just a little bit of a ring around the rosy, which would amount to nothing. So they have to get the kill on this guy, and he's at about 40,000 hit points, so it's not going to be an easy kill here, but he does manage to get his first broadside out at that enemy Scharnhorst, and you can see the Fiji has also smoked up. He's going to get some very nice AP into his superstructure. Static's first salvo against the Scharnhorst does fail to do much damage, only about 790 right there with the over-penetration. However, he has now switched to the high explosive. Now, in my experiences with the Scharnhorst, this HE sucks. Whatever the fire chance is certainly not indicative of its actual potential, but of course he likes a double fire right there on that guy. So now that Scharnhorst is in a very big predicament as he immediately puts out the fire, which is a very good thing. So now he's going to, at some point, switch back to the high explosive. He did switch here to the armor piercing, as that Scharnhorst is providing a full broadside here. There's 236 left in the game. The shell's flying in on the broadside, 6,000 damage done there, and he's down to about 13,000 hit points, but he is using his damage control. Now, right here is where the enemy Scharnhorst throws the game away. He could have turned to his left and kept it so that Static was not able to get shots over that middle portion of the island that sticks well up, but he continues, or he continued anyway, to sail out to the a little bit farther to the right. So you can see here that now Static is able to get shots over that little horseshoe, that little U in the island right there, and get more shells in that guy. If he would have continued to turn left, he would have only been taking fire from the Fiji, but of course, since those British light cruisers do not have high explosive, it would have been much, much better. However, Static has now since switched back to the high explosive, and he's getting ready to pepper that guy's superstructure with some more stuff. The Fiji is still getting some very good damage into him as well. Will he get a fire? No, unfortunately, he knocks out the torpedo tubes. Does about 2,000 points of damage. It's now 140 left in the game. However, the enemy team has 974 points, so they do have to kill this guy probably within the next 2 salvos, or they are going to lose the game based off the point total. The next salvo of high explosive going down range. He's only at 6,000 hit points. There we go. He does not manage to get another fire. Like I mentioned, the fire chance really isn't that good. The enemy team is at 990 points. This next salvo has to kill this guy, but will the Fiji be able to land a big hit? Oh, yes, he does. Puts him on 362 hit points. The enemy team has 998 points, and he manages to get the kill right before the enemy team would have won that game. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 641,000 credits received and just over 10k total XP. He picked up a devastating strike, Confederate, 2 close quarters experts, a Kraken, and a high caliber off of 176,000 points of damage dealt. He had 83 shell hits that caused 11 citadels, managed to secure 6 of the 12 kills for his team, and had 1 solo base cap as well as 83 secondary hits. Taking a look at the team score, 2,640 base EXP, a very solid performance here in the Scharnhorst, and showing just how powerful this thing can be when it is indeed top tier. Taking a look here at his damage dealt, 6,000 with the HE, 161,000 with the armor piercing off of 80 shells that did penetrate. So very, very nice stuff right there, and 1.2k potential is pretty respectable as well. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Again, please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or possibly subscribing to the channel. All of it is very, very much appreciated. And with that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships, signing off. Guys and gals, have a great day.